Hello, my name is Olivia. Welcome to the How to Write a Resume webinar. In this webinar, we will cover the basics of writing an American resume and go through choosing which experiences and skills you have that should be included on your resume. Let's get started. When making an American resume, the hardest thing for Brazilians to do is to choose what, out of all of their experiences, they should include on the resume. You are used to making a CV, which contains everything you have done, all of your skills and experiences. An American resume, however, is only one page, so narrowing down everything you have done in order to choose what should go on the resume is really difficult. General information about a resume. A resume is only one page. It lists information that is relevant to the position for which you are applying and is formatted in a professional and consistent way. The appearance of the resume will be dictated by black font color, 10 to 12 point simple font such as Times New Roman, Arial, or Calibri, 1/2 inch to 1 inch margins, bold, italics, underline, and standard font to distinguish between different parts of the resume, and a space to separate each section. Note: do not include personal information other than your name, address, email, and phone number. Please do not include your gender, your nationality, your age, or a photo of yourself. The first and easiest part of the resume is the personal information that you will put at the top. This fictional BSMP student, Camila, has her name, her email address, her phone number, and her mailing address. Your mailing address is optional because it is unlikely that they will send you anything through the mail, but you can choose to put it on your resume. The next section, the education section, is a very important part of the resume, and you must include it. In this section, you should include your Brazilian university and your American institution. For the undergrad BSMP students, your education section will look something like this, or it should look exactly like this. This format is a good format to follow. The name of the university in bold, the location, under that, non-degree international student, comma, your field of study, and then you can put Brazil Scientific Mobility Program, comma, fully funded scholarship recipient. You will also put your Brazilian university. In this case, Camila went to the Federal University of Rio. Location, Rio, Brazil. And she is getting a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. On the right side of the page, you want to put the dates that you will be attending the American institution. And then for the Brazilian institution, you want to put the date when you expect that you will graduate. This can be shown by using the month and the year. No specific day is required. For the grad students, you're going to have your American institution here, and under it, it will say master's, comma, and then your field of study. You can also put Brazil Scientific Mobility Program, fully funded scholarship recipient. Over here, unlike the undergrads, you will have an expected graduation date, just as this one here. And then for your Brazilian institution, you will have the name and a Bachelor of Science and your field of study. And you can say graduation date, colon, and then say December 2013, which could be when you graduated. A note about GPA: you should not include your GPA on the resume if it is under a 3.0, but if it is above a 3.0, please put this. For undergrads, you are going to want to have your GPA under this line right here, the dates of when you are studying in the American institution. And this GPA, for now, since none of you have your first semester grades yet, is going to be a converted GPA. All of the grades that you have already received from the classes you've taken in your Brazilian institution, you will convert those into an American GPA, and once you get your first semester grades around December, then you can make the switch with that GPA. That GPA will already be calculated for you. For grad students, since it is your first semester of grad school, you do not need to have a GPA right here, but you will need to have a GPA under this date, under your undergrad institution information right here. And that will be a converted GPA from the overall GPA you received in your undergrad institution. Moving on to the relevant coursework section. This section is optional. For those of you who have a lot of experience related to the position you are applying for, this part can be skipped because you need the space for other more important things. For example, I used to include relevant coursework on my resume, but now that I have had 2 jobs and a fellowship, I don't include it anymore because it would make my resume longer than 1 page. However, for students who do not have a lot of experience, it is a great way to show potential employers what you are capable of. You can look through your courses and decide which courses are the best to include in the resume. Looking at Camila's resume, she included a lot of very relevant coursework to her computer science major. She did take some other courses such as graphic design, Brazilian political institutions, and Brazilian culture, but decided that it wasn't good to put them on the resume because they have nothing to do with computer science and they won't make her more likely to get the internship or research or observership. The next section, the skills section, is incredibly important for STEM students as well as design and architecture students, so make sure to include it. In this section, do not list skills that are character traits. These should be included in the cover letter, should you have to write one. You can separate the skills into categories and list as such. So as we can see, Camila has programming skills, lab skills, and also speaks native Portuguese, advanced English, and has some experience with French. You notice that she didn't include things such as adaptable to other cultures, works well with a diverse group of people, because these are more character traits and she can include them in the cover letter if she needs to. But a person reading her resume will probably know that she's good at these things, that she is adaptable and works well with others, since she is studying abroad in another country. Moving on to the experience section. This section is very important, but if you have not had any jobs or internships, don't worry. You can include projects and research you engaged in, as well as volunteer opportunities you've had. But you want to make sure the things you list in this section are something you can talk about fairly in depth. If you volunteered at a school teaching math 3 times a year, I would not include that in your resume. This section is basically all of the work you did relative to your field of study outside the typical classroom. Do not include experience you have had that does not relate to your field of study. So you can see that Camila was an intern at IBM Brazil and was a research assistant on a project at the Federal University of Rio. She also worked as a sales representative at O Boticário, but she chose not to include this on her resume because it has nothing to do with computer science and won't tell the person reading her resume that she should get the job. So she chose to include the 2 experiences that she had that she felt spoke best to her computer science abilities. As for the organization of this section, you must list the name of the organization or company you worked with on the first line in bold, the city and the state, and under that, the position you held. On the right side of the page, you will include the dates you worked there. You must also include descriptions of what you did while there. Make sure to use action words to describe your tasks and what you accomplished. Action words such as created, tested, assisted. Sometimes it gets hard to think of new words. I would suggest just typing in resume action words in Google and tons of links will come up with just lists of all different words that you can use. Moving on to the next section, additional information. You can include in this section the fact that you have work authorization provided by IIE. We have an example here, and it is fine to copy this sentence. You can also include any honors you have received, as well as seminars and conferences you've attended, and any activities, extracurricular activities, that you would like to include on your resume. This section is completely optional, and you don't need to include it in your resume. I would include this section for students who have a little bit of space on their resume, maybe students who don't have as much experience. Master's students will likely have a little bit more experience, so they won't need to include this on their resume. But you don't want to make this section so large that it goes on to the second page, because remember, resumes are only one page. So you want to really pick and choose what you include here. You may have received tons of honors, but including all of them and not having room for other things on the page wouldn't be a wise decision. You may have also gone to many seminars and conferences, but you're not going to want to include them on here if they take up other space that could be used to list more skills or more experience, or if this causes you to go on to, if listing all of the seminars and conferences you've been to causes you to go on to that second page. But it is your decision. You can pick and choose what you would like to put on the resume, as long as it's only one page and everything on there is directly related to your field of study and the internship or research assistantship or observership that you are applying for. So now the first draft of your resume is complete, and you are ready to take it to the Career Services Office for review. Please remember that your resume should be checked by a Career Services Office staff member, and any suggestions of changes he or she makes should be made. Never upload or submit a resume that has not been reviewed. Mistakes on a resume are unprofessional and can be a deciding factor on whether or not you are chosen for the position. Thanks, and we'll see you at our next webinar.